Hello and welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, KK Conashiro. In June of 2014, Fremont voters approved Measure E, a $650 million bond to assist Fremont Unified in addressing enrollment growth and other facility challenges throughout the school district. Now in its seventh year, progress can be seen everywhere with new classroom buildings, science labs, as well as other upgrades in technology and infrastructure. Here to give us the latest update on all things Measure E and a preview of upcoming projects, our FUSD Facility Construction Director, Kelly Lynch McMahon, and Gerald Green from Veneer Construction Management. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, KK.
Now, for anyone who's a brand new viewer and they never heard of Measure E, can you give us a definition of what Measure E was supposed to do, what it's supposed to accomplish, its history, everything for any new viewers?
Sure. So unfortunately, I'm new to the district. I've only been here for a very short period of time and Measure E predates me. But my understanding and what my interpretation of what has been passed is that the voters put forth a bond measure, and it was a general obligation bond, and they voted on it, and it generated $650 million in monies to be used for facilities upgrades and construction related projects within Fremont Unified School District. And in the process of doing this measure, it has allowed the school district to actually, accomplish some really amazing things over the last 7 years. And we are still, in the process of spending all the rest of the money, but there's a lot of need based on what was assessed back in 2014.
Right.
And so we're addressing, leaky roofs, internet issues and technology upgrades. We're looking at HVAC, which is, of course, a hot topic now since we have all the issues with COVID-19. Infrastructure, and when we talk about infrastructure, we're talking about sanitary sewer, power, any utilities that tie into a site to make it work. All of those things are being addressed and upgraded because the average building in the city, in the school district, is about 40 years old.
Wow.
So you can only imagine when we start doing some of these projects, what kind of comes up and what gets unearthed because it's been patched, repaired, and whatever. So we're really looking at those kinds of things. And so when we talk about the upgrades, we're really focusing on anything that's related to fire, life, and safety. And all of those are regulatory and compliance related items that allow the school district to continue to operate and function as a school district.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers the question. And I tried to summarize a really complicated process into something really simple. So
you did great. But I do have a question. Because we have the $650 or $650 million bond. Is there a time that you have to use all that money up?
Yes, it has to be spent in 10 years.
10 years. Okay, so we have 3 more years.
Yes.
Okay.
And then just to add to that, KK, when they identified, when the bond was passed in 2014, I believe it was $1.6 billion was what the need was going to be. And we were able to get $650 million worth, so about a third of what was actually needed.
Yeah.
So a lot of things got left out just because there just wasn't the funds to do that. So just want to throw that in.
So now that we're in our 7th year, how are you able to prioritize with which school needs what? I mean, how does this all pan out? How do you guys decide that?
So I believe it was back in 2016, there was a long range facilities master plan that was completed.
Okay.
And what that is, it's an analysis of all the properties within the district. And there's a checklist that the Department of Education, as well as the Division of State Architects Office, provides us to say, these are the minimum requirements that your facilities that house students have to perform to.
Okay.
And we did an analysis and created a, sort of a priority list based on that checklist. And anything that fell into a category of poor, very poor, or just has to be like demolished and redone, those were put up at the top of the list.
Okay.
The other thing that happened is that the Board of Trustees, I believe, made a decision based on enrollment projections that they received that they needed to consolidate and expand their middle schools. So there was a big push to consolidate and basically convert a lot of the middle schools and move the sixth graders into the seventh and eighth grade sites. So that work is going on now. And there are 5 middle schools, and 2 of the 5 have been completed to date.
Which
So,
are?
pardon me?
Which are? Which school?
Which are Walters Middle School and Horner Middle School.
Okay.
Those 2 have been completed. So students beginning in the fall, Walters was completed last year.
Okay.
Horner was completed this, I believe January was when we finally filed the notice of completion. So students will be able to attend come the fall if and ever when we get back to in-person instruction. Those sites are available to receive them. Currently, Thornton, Centerville, and Hopkins are either under construction or
Okay.
getting ready to start construction. And all 3 of those will be completed in 2023 for
Okay.
fall attendance and occupancy.
Now I want to make sure that everyone understands, even though you're focused on the middle schools, other high schools, elementary schools are still having their work done that they have.
Correct.
Okay, it's not like you dropped that and now you're working on middle schools, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what are some of the projects that are currently in progress in the district that the community may or may not be interested in? Because I'm always interested in this. I know you're working on the middle schools, but with other high schools and the elementary, can you discuss what else is going on?
Sure, Gerald, do you want to speak?
Yeah. So right now, the main focus is Centerville, Thornton, and Hopkins, because those are the largest projects, and so some of the need is there. Also, Kennedy High School, we're doing a project there that's probably going to start in May. It's about $25 million worth of work. It's basically HVAC upgrades, flooring upgrades, and roofing upgrades.
Okay.
Is identified.
And also lighting as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you need to see.
We have to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to be starting the Group 1 elementary school projects as well, and that's 5 elementary schools, and they will be receiving HVAC upgrades, flooring upgrades, and roofing upgrades as well. So those will probably start closer to the summer.
Okay. So Gerald, from your standpoint, do you have different teams that go to each campus to work on what they're on their list of things to do, or do you have one crew that goes out and does all of it? How does
So
that
we have
work?
one crew that pretty much goes out and does
Wow.
all of it, and there's 7 of us, I think, or 8 of us. And so, but we're, some of us are project managers, some of us are finance and accounting folks, some of us are contract folks, some of us are field engineers. And so we go out and manage the entire suite of projects for the district. There's also a construction manager that works at each campus that monitors the day-to-day. So if you kind of think of the relationship, we report to the district as the program manager because it's the Measure E bond program.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then there's the construction managers that work at the individual campuses, and they manage the day-to-day ongoing construction activity at that campus. And
Okay.
Us.
Okay.
We report into the district.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be running ragged.
So it's not just our team; it's also other professionals that are running the day-to-day construction. But we're all working kind of hand in hand with one another.
Okay, so the community sees the new buildings, which is exciting, but do you have any fun stories about between the walls? Have you found any, time capsules or something that just like, oh my God, I can't believe this has survived?
Well, we haven't found the Hope Diamond yet.
Oh, that would solve all our problems.
Boy.
But yeah, Kelly?
Actually, I think one of the fun things I think Sean shared this in one of the construction management meetings. They found a baseball from, I guess, the 1960s in one of the walls of, I think it was the room directly next to the theater.
Oh, wow.
And it was somebody's signature on it, but it was not legible. But the date stamp was actually on the baseball. It said like World Series 1976 or something like that. But it was,
Wow.
he was kind of like, wow, this is, our
That's
closest thing
amazing.
to an artifact that we found. But I mean, most of the time, you find stuff that nobody wants to see or talk
Right.
about. The really gross stuff, like
Or bats or stuff, right?
right.
Good.
Like,
That's
a
good.
ruptured sewer line or an
Right.
abandoned. Oh, the one thing we did have at Kennedy, not Kennedy, at Centerville, we had that abandoned fire hydrant that was causing us all those
Right.
problems. And we
Really?
found out after going around John's West Bend 5 different times and getting ready to spend an enormous amount of money, that it was just a fake, non-used fire hydrant that we just ended up having to reroute service to anyway. So it was just like, oh my gosh, why couldn't have somebody told me? But
Well, and we also found the Hetch Hetchy water line going through Hopkins.
yes,
Really?
that was,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that's owned by the city and county of San Francisco. So we actually have the rights to it. So they tell us how far we can build away from it.
Okay.
Anything near it, right?
But just one school has that line, not the others?
It actually runs through pretty much the entire top to bottom of Fremont.
Oh, okay.
And it's only going through the one
We
school.
were
I think.
amazed. We were
Wow.
amazed that nobody, they knew about it, but they didn't know as much as now what we know about it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And
Okay.
it goes right through the property underground.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That's amazing.
Right.
Okay, so we started out in June 2014 with $650 million. Can you tell us where we are in the budget now? Can you give us any updates at that? Are we still standing good?
So we have expended about 501 million of the 650. So
Okay.
that's a little more than half, not quite 3/4. And we do earn interest on the money. So that interest
good.
is put back into the program
Okay.
and allocated accordingly. And the board makes the decision as to how those dollars are actually allocated and assigned to based on whatever need comes up.
Great. Now, even though we've made a lot of progress, with getting everything done that we need to get done, but as Gerald had mentioned in the beginning of the interview, that the $650 million bond doesn't cover all our needs. So
Correct.
how do you guys propose to fix future plans to make sure it gets done, or if it can wait a little bit, or how is this going to work out?
So one of the things that is happening now, so the district is required every 5 years to update that long-range facilities master plan. So we're in the process of updating ours right now.
Oh, okay.
And when we finish updating that master plan, which is it's a 5 to 10 year look ahead to say, hey, this is where we are right now.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to be in 5 years, and this is our goal in 10 years. And we plan out the entire district and from a facility standpoint.
Okay.
So they're going to analyze and review what's been done. To anything that's been fixed, take it off the list. Anything that's gotten worse kind of goes up in priority because it's deteriorating over time. And then anything that's new gets put on the list as well. Once that's created, then we, within the district staff, evaluate it. We then work with the community members to kind of get an idea, hey, what do you guys really want to do? And what do you see happening for your school district in the next 5 years, whether it's, programming, facilities, or, whatever the community says they want.
Mm-hmm.
We then take that internally and digest it and figure out how we can actually make it happen. We then, in the process of planning, then create an estimate. And what we call it is a rough order of magnitude estimate, which is just a high level kind of cost per square foot estimate of what we say or have deemed to be needed to change or improved.
Okay.
Then that's then the framework of how you then say, okay, community, our needs assessment is now at $900 million because we took care of the 650 before. So what's left is the 900 million. Then the board of trustees will then make a decision to either go out for another bond measure,
Okay.
to then ask the community, hey, can you now afford to support another bond measure, which will get us to completion of that monster list that we initially came out with,
Yeah.
and really kind of upgrade and provide for the schools. And so that's how we'll be able to finance and basically get the additional funds necessary to complete some of the things that were in deficit with the first one. And so it's a very hard question to ask, but one that I'm confident when the community sees how well their money was spent on the previous bond measure, that they will definitely support it, because they see what the benefits are to their community and the students who are able to benefit from it. So.
Okay, one last question, because I have to know this myself. Is there anything you'd like the community to know about with everything going on? Is there any misconceptions out in the public that you've been hearing that you just want to quelch?
Well,
Go ahead, Gerald.
I don't know if it's a misconception in the public, but something that I'd like to bring to the public's attention, kind of piggybacking off what Kelly said about the need that we have available, the funds that we have available for the need. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that in 2014, it's just like your house, right? If whatever you're worth in 2014, it's worth more now.
Right.
The price per square foot in 2014 was about $400 to $500 per square foot here in the Bay Area. Right? Now it's almost double that. It's between $800 and $900 per square foot, right? And construction is a little bit higher, right? So you can't build as much with the same money that you have. You don't get more bond money just because the price per square foot went up. You still have dollar funds, right?
Right.
We're not able to get as much for our money because no one could have anticipated. You identified some escalations, cost increase, some inflation, but no one forecasted, twice the square footage amount.
Right.
Right. And so that's one thing I'd like the public to keep in mind, is that as we're building, we have to make some tough decisions, not just because we got a third of what the need was, but also because that money isn't worth as much now as it was then. So
Right.
keep in mind.
And also the cost of supplies has gone up exponentially.
Yes.
I mean, wood.
Yes.
We are actually, we didn't initially feel the COVID escalation last summer, because everything was being built that was built last summer. We had already locked in pricing and had purchased pre-COVID pandemic. Now that we're kind of coming out from it and we have these new projects that we still are now bidding, we're seeing upwards of, 20-25% increase in the things that we had previously on other jobs didn't have that escalation. And so it's really causing us to be very strategic in how we, one, release the work, but also how we package the scopes of work so that you can bundle and keep things as tight as possible, because you don't want the cost to get away from you.
Right.
And wait too long, because then it's just going to get higher and higher and higher and higher. So it's really posing some challenges for us, but we're working through it. And I think you all will be happy with the outcome.
I think so too. And what a initiation for you, Kelly. Welcome to this new COVID world and this whole infrastructure. Thank you so much for being here, Gerald. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you too.
Great. Well, go ahead, Kelly.
I said it's very nice meeting you as well, KK.
And you too. Congratulations again on your new position here.
Thank you.
From everyone here at Community Conversations, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. Thank you.